Have you set a deadline for when you're going to publish?
Have you?
But the question is, should you? There's both pros and cons to using a deadline as part of your writing process, which I covered in this video and this video. Trust me, I know. And as much as I love Douglas Adams' famous quote of, "I love deadlines," I love the whooshing sound they make as they fly by. For me, that drives me nuts when I miss a deadline. So today's video, I'm going to give you my 7 tips on how to create a deadline that will help you get the work done. What's up, Internet? I'm Tim Green, and this is my writing channel. You can download my free Excel word count trackers. Like, subscribe. Let's get started. A little heads up, even though these are labeled as tips, I did my best to arrange them in a way that you could use them as steps. Now this first tip might look familiar. That's because it was one of my pros. Trust me, tracking your word counts and knowing your average daily words is going to be a huge help, especially if you're trying to write a 150,000 word novel, because you can simply find out how long it'll take you to write it. All you take is your AWC and divide it by your ADW, and bam, that's how many days it's going to take you to write it. Thinking that's a little confusing? So let me give you an example. So the 150,000 words, that would be your NWC, your novel word count. ADW is your average daily words. So let's say that's about 1,223 words. So you simply divide 150,000 by 1,223, and you'd get 122.649223. Well, since this is 0.6, let's just round it up, and there you go. 123 days to write that 150 words. And that's if you're writing every day. But you're going to want to double that because the Hofstede law basically says it takes double the amount of time you think it takes to complete a project. So a rule in software development, they say double the time you think it will take to complete it, then add 6 months. So if you apply this to our estimate that we got above of 123 days, so if you double that, it comes out to 246 days. We've got to add 6 months, which can be kind of arbitrary based on where we are in the year. Make it simple. A month is 30 days. So take 30 times it by 6, you get 108. Now you just add that 246 to 180, and you get 426 days. Perfect. And that is enough time to complete this project just being lazy. And it works great with... You can use that flexible deadline tip from the pros video here. Since 426 days would be your absolute deadline from when you start writing, you can then pick your more flexible deadline of, let's say, 6 months out. That's actually not what I'm recommending here. I'm recommending multiple deadlines. Since you're having 426 days to write this novel, you could break that novel up into more manageable pieces of how much of it you want done by certain time periods, each basically getting their own deadline. This could be done by percentage, weekly, monthly, you name it. Much as it pains me to recommend this, the best way to do this could be a word count. It's basically on word count instead of pages. That's because determining the completion of something by pages, that's used for scripts. For novels, it's word counts. And it pains me this because when you're focused on a word count be done by a certain date, you can easily focus on word progression, not story progression. So I would recommend, instead of using word counts to complete, use scenes. How many scenes you want done by 3 months, 4 months out is better. But this will require you to have... Painters, don't go away. Don't go away. I'm not telling you to plan your novel. I'm not, even though that can help. I know you have to do it your way. What I mean by plan is make a plan of when you're going to write, how long you're going to write, and then tell people to promptly leave you the fuck alone. And if they do interrupt you, you'll tell them to fuck off. So let's look at these 3 things a little more, okay? First, when to write. I'm a huge fan of write every day. There's tons of benefits to do this, but schedules and life doesn't always allow for that to happen, or when you can just try to do that, it doesn't always work overall. If you aren't going to write every day, you need to know how often you are going to. Look at your life, look at your schedule, and then pick. Now remember, your deadline needs to reflect how often you're going to write. So let's just say 5 days a week. Now that we have this leads us to when you're going to write during these days, if you can do it at the same time every day. But again, schedules and life always allow for it. But it's not just when you're going to write, but how long. There's a reason why I put tip number 1 as track your word counts. Because while I can tell you your average daily words, it can also tell you the average length it takes you to write those daily words. So once you have all this, it's now time to notify those who might interrupt you. I suggest to, as nicely as you possibly can, to tell everyone to leave you alone. However, I'm a huge proponent of having this sign hanging from your closed door. And yes, your door should be closed. Speaking of telling people, those people you're telling to leave you the alone, make sure they know about your deadline as well. Tell them if you don't make your deadline because they keep interrupting you, you'll be very disappointed with them. But don't just stop with those. Tell others. Accountability is a great way to ensure that you make your deadline. And I know, I put it in both the pros and the con videos. I do believe if you see it as a con, it's because you have the wrong people holding you accountable. And I actually said that while recording. Here's the clip. If accountability does this to you, I'm going to question if you have the right people holding you accountable. I cut it out simply because I didn't think it fit that video. Look, another thing from the pros video. That's because it's motivating and it works with accountability. When you have to pay because you didn't do what you set out to do, you're going to make sure that that never happens again, especially when what you're paying out is money. I use this method to write a trilogy in 1 year. I had all the motivation in the world not to pay my buddies Adam and Chris the total of $500, even when I thought I wasn't going to make it. I had just started grad school, so I was busy with that and other things. Also, I couldn't afford to pay $500 to them. That motivation led me to writing 10,000 words on the last day to complete the final book and achieve the goal and not have to pay them. So if you do this, it's not just the people you're going to pay the fines to who need to know about this. Others need to know about the fines. This way, you can't weasel your way out of paying the fine if you fail to make the deadline. This tip is very, very easy. Once you have a deadline or deadlines because you're using multiple, write them down. Not just on your calendar, where you will see them every day you write, or you'll forget. There you go. You have my tips for how to create a deadline that will motivate. I'm sorry to say this, but deadlines don't always work for everyone. And if these don't help you, then you might need to figure out a way to stay motivated without having a deadline. Lucky for you, that's going to be my next video. If you enjoyed this video, I would love it if you would smash that like button and subscribe. Don't forget you can download my free Excel word count trackers. You have my tips to creating deadlines that work. Now learn the cons of having by clicking this video here. And I'll see you there. Thanks for watching. Bye.